Hey, what is going on, everybody? Happy New Testament Tuesday. I'm Pastor Adam. I'm so glad you decided to tune in and check out and see what we've got going on today. Hey, we're going to continue on in our series about how to be a Christian in an unchristian world. The challenges that we face as Christians in a world in our society that is maybe losing their Christian values, maybe really losing their Christian values. How do we as Christians continue to share the gospel, honor one another, and be a good witness for Christ without losing ourselves to the world, without conforming to the world, without the world hating us? How do we do that? Well, that's what the series is all about. Let's dive into it. Before we get into the Bible, I have a question for you. How often do you renew your library books? The library books need to be renewed. Why? Because other people are going to use them. Other people are going to want to look at them and check them out. But think about it for yourself. If you read your library book before the date that it's going to be overdue, you've got to sit there with it. Unless you take it in early, you sit there with it with that old information that you already know. You've read the book, you've read the story, you've understood what the author is trying to get to you, and you go and take it back, and then you either renew it or you get another one to figure out what that author was trying to say and what the point of the story is. The point is, at some point, you have to either renew the library book or you change it and get another one. Now, what does that all have to do with the Bible? Well, check this out. Romans chapter 12, starting in verse 1, going to verse 2. Therefore, I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as living sacrifices, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will. Just like how you have to renew a library book, you have got to renew your mind. There comes a point where your mind is like, I've had enough, I'm starting to get bogged down, and you've got to renew it. What does it get bogged down by? Well, it gets bogged down by the world. What media is trying to tell you, what other people are trying to tell you, the things that you see, the things that you listen to, they all start to clog up your cranium, and it slows down the way that you perceive the world in a godly way. Called our Christian worldview, we want to view the world through the lens of a Christian, through the Bible, through understanding God. That's how we want to view things. Here, Paul is saying, don't conform to the patterns of your world. As we go out and be Christians in this unchristian world, what we can't do is start to adopt the things that the world is doing. Let me go back to my library example. If we are Christians and we have a Christian worldview, at some point somebody's going to come along like, hey, that's a little outdated, shouldn't and then we get the choice of renewing the Bible, our Christian worldview, or taking in something else. Well, do you renew your mind or do you take in something else? How silly would it be if you picked up a book from the library, read about halfway through, set it down, didn't bother to look at it again, didn't bother to read it, didn't bother to get the author's intent out of it, and then returned it when it was due? You wouldn't understand the rest of the story. You'd be missing things. You wouldn't get it. How often do we get the Bible? We read a few books, a few chapters. Yep, that's good. And then we're done with it. And then somebody comes along, hey, that's a little outdated. And it comes time to renew our mind. Do you renew your mind or do you check something else out? Our brain can kind of work that way. If we're not constantly renewing our mind, renewing our Christian worldview, then we are going to give it up in exchange for something else. That's how we need to defend ourselves as a Christian in an unchristian world is we need to constantly be renewing our mind. There's always fresh, new information that the Bible has to offer. I don't think there's any way that you can completely understand the Bible and check it out, or check it back in and grab another book. You're never going to run out of information. God is never going to be done speaking to you through it until he calls you back home. So how do you be a Christian in an unchristian world? Well, you have to defend yourself from the ways of the world. The world will try to constantly tell you that it's outdated, it's not good, you should think of this, or what about this? This is the new way of thinking, or science says that. Renew your mind. Don't be checking anything else out. Now, what I mean by that is don't understand the things that they're trying to tell you, because we have to understand in order to defend the faith. We have to understand where they're coming from and being able to form a proper defense, a good argument against such a thing. But that's not the point. That's neither here nor there. The point is renew your mind and not be checking something else out in the way the library works. I'm Pastor Adam. I hope that made sense. I'll see you again next time.